Society of the Snow is a drama survival film directed by J.A. Bayona. If you're familiar, he's a really talented director who did, I believe, The Impossible and The Orphanage. This one is about the 1972 Uruguayan flight Andes disaster, where a plane went down over the mountains, and the occupants, a lot of them died at the very beginning, but because they landed in a valley that was hidden by other aircraft, they couldn't be found. And they basically had to survive weeks in frozen conditions with dwindling food, and eventually having to, in order to survive, turn to cannibalism. It's a very grim, bleak story, and this movie is the same. It's a 2.5 hours of just basically them getting shat on by nature and their unfortunate situation, and they argue and stuff. I felt that the movie was a little bit too indulgent in that regard. The movie, I think, should have focused more so on two survivors who had to walk 10 days to get help. If they perhaps focused more on that, it would have been a more inspiring film. But instead, the movie wishes to tribute to all the survivors. So the movie is almost an ensemble of all the different people and the different sides that take it for or against cannibalism. And of course, people die along the way. There's an avalanche. It's a very harrowing film. If you've seen The Impossible, you know what I mean. That movie is no picnic, and obviously the film wishes to showcase the gory details, basically, of cutting up the bodies with pieces of glass and having them preserved with the ice and things like that, eating raw flesh. It's all very grim and bleak. There's no levity, and that's why I feel like the film kind of fails in that regard. Or you're basically just being bludgeoned over and over with like defeat, defeat, defeat. And then they should have, extended, the second half of the film should have been more about the two survivors having to go all the way for help instead. And then the second half of the film could be about like a sort of true courage survival sort of thing, instead of what we get, which is just 2.5 hours of being a downer thing, and told that you're not going to be rescued, and facing despair. Because, the story in itself is pretty bleak, but I don't want to witness it in real time. Why don't you change some elements and focus more on other aspects, like not the cannibalism, but the 10-day trek to go get help, and then the rescue operation and all those cool details. But I guess there is a book called Alive. I do own it. I bought it at a thrift shop for $2. I'll probably try to read it this year. But overall, Society of the Snow, I only watched it because it's an Oscar nominee for the foreign film category. I do like J.A. Bayona, but this one was a bit of a downer. So I give Society of the Snow a 6 out of 10.